Seahawks fans, wherever you may be, thanks for listening to the show. Join your hosts, Bill Alvstad and Keith Myers, as we talk Seahawks football. Hey, hi, Seahawk fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Seahawks Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Bill Alvstad, sitting down with co-host Keith Myers, here to talk Seahawks football. We've got a preview for you today, preview show. The Texans are visiting the Seahawks on Monday Night Football. So we are ahead of the game just a little bit, recording this show. But wanted to let you know that Devon, Witherspoon, Tariq, Woolen, and Julian Love, we're going to be out at practice on Thursday, according to Mike Macdonald. So that's great news, Keith. Hopefully definitely. We have a decent return to the secondary, so that we can be optimized for this game. Welcome in. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Those of you watching on the video version of this, you can tell I probably got some dental work done today because this side of my face is all like, but other than that, I'm great. I'm glad we're here talking about Seahawks.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, you can talk. Yeah,
I can talk.
Even though you look like a mudslide right now, but
I know.
Whatever. Actually, I didn't notice anything. So until you said that, it's like,
wow, that says a lot about how I normally look, apparently.
I think that you look fine. It's the slight slurring, but yeah. What are you going to do? Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, gotta hang out and talk some Seahawks football. Important game this week. You got a team that is 2-3, but won their last two games in convincing fashion. So we got to figure out what the what Houston's bringing to town and what we're going to have to do to beat them. So that's the goal today. Well,
they've definitely got a tight top 10 defense, Keith, and
they've got a top 5
middle of the road. Yeah, middle of the road offense. Probably no better than like Jacksonville, as far as what we're going to face. Nothing on their side of the ball other than if CJ Stroud just gets really hot. And Nico Collins has phenomenal catches. I think, beyond that, there's nothing on that offensive side of the ball that worries me. In fact, I'm encouraged.
12.2 points per game allowed is something to worry about. What's 3.5 points per game better than any other team?
Yeah, there's no doubt that their defense is good, but if you look at the advanced stats on the DVOA stuff, Seattle is better. I think overall, if you take into account opponents' strength and so forth. So I'm not trying to take anything away from them. They've got an outstanding defense. Their edges are the best in the NFL. They've got a great back end. They defend the run pretty decently, although I will say Seattle looks like it might have a little bit of an advantage on some outside zone stuff with them. But they match up pretty well. They're going to do some things, I think, other than, say, San Francisco. I think this might be one of the better defenses. Of course, I think Pittsburgh, when we faced Pittsburgh, didn't seem like they were going to be a good team. They're now 4-1. Pittsburgh had a okay defense. I think, our offense has been so prolific as of late since the first game that until I see a defense really slow down Seattle, I'm not sure that it's going to happen. Now, as far as our defense against their offense, I think that we have major advantages in that situation. And that's why I think overall the scales tip towards Seattle in this game, and we can kind of get into the details. But I think Seattle is probably one of the most complete teams in the NFL, Keith. I think overall, when you combine defense and offense and special teams, they're leading DVOA right now. in overall in performance. And I think when you watch the games, the eye test says that they're a real complete team too. So I think any team that's going to face Seattle is going to admit that it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at, some of the things, Sam Darnold's 9.6 yards per pass attempt average is just crazy high, number one in the NFL. And, there's a lot of things, and that's Seattle's offense, which is not considered the strength of the team. Um, is, I mean, that's an elite stat, is what that is. Other than the one Tampa game with, where Baker Mayfield went off against a whole bunch of backups. This defense that Seattle has been, legit top five. But they're going up against, this is a Houston team that's defense is, top three. I mean, that's a really, really solid defense. And so I'm curious as to why you're so confident that Seattle's going to be able to score against Houston when no one else has.
Well, no other team has scored more than 20 points against them.
Mhm.
I'll give you that, no doubt. They also have problems scoring the ball. They haven't scored over 21 points, I don't believe, in any other games. They're averaging well below that. I think
They
Seattle
scored
has scored.
44 against the Ravens last week. Or not last week, but the
So
week before.
So I will say this, that Seattle has proven that they can score, and so I understand what they want to be able to do, and they do have an elite pass rush. They do have the ability to create pressure. They do have the ability of their linebackers and safeties to recognize play action pass. They do have some great cover corners and can eliminate some routes. And I think if they decide that they want to take Jaxon-Smith and Njigba out of this game, there's an opportunity that maybe they have to do that. Although we saw Arizona try to do that as well, and eventually Njigba finally got his in that game. Seattle is not really set up to be a third and long offense, and Houston puts you into those situations more than any other defense in this league. But it seems like we've been able to neutralize teams as far as neutralizing pass rush. Teams that are coming in, with fairly decent pass rush and disruption, we've seemed to be able to get the ball out fairly quickly, neutralize those teams with our play action game. Kind of force feed our run game, even though it might not be working as far as yards per play. I think the volume itself really kind of helps Sam Darnold out a little bit. And I do trust in Njigba at this point. It's the other players I think that need to step up in this game in particular that I'm going to be watching for on our offense. But I do believe that we can score 20 to 24 points in this game. I'm not going to say it's going to be a blowout. We're going to score 30 or whatever. This is going to be a defensive battle, a struggle.
It's going to be a defensive battle.
A turnover game where the team that doesn't turn the ball over is going to have an advantage in this game. There's going to be 3 or 4 key drives, that kind of dictate whether this team is going to score field goals or they're going to score touchdowns. And we need to be able to score touchdowns. On the other side of the ball, Keith, I'm having a hard time figuring out how they can score more than 13 points. And maybe you can help me out with that.
Well, I mean, I look at this and I'm like, okay, let's pick a metric that you like. CJ Stroud, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That's not bad. He has given up 12 sacks. It's 2 a game. That's not great. but he's passer ratings over 100. He's completing 70% of his passes, 7.5 yards per attempt. Like, those aren't bad numbers. I know people are like starting to get down on him because the offense isn't great, but he's playing well. And then, you go in and you look at the rushing stats and you're like, okay, let's, where does a Houston player sit on the rushing stats? And you start scrolling looking for, one, and it isn't until you reach number 28 that you find Nick Chubb in terms of yards.
And they're ranked 22nd
And
overall in DVOA
yeah,
and running the ball.
so they are not a team that runs the ball especially well. And you're like, okay, 4.3 yards per carry for Nick Chubb. That's not something that is going to that's not going to dominate a game or anything. Especially when you look at like Travis Etienne from Jacksonville is 5.3. And they shut him down. So okay, so if you shut down the running game and you ask CJ Stroud to beat you, who are his receivers? Who are his guys that are gonna bail him out and catch the ball? And I'm not seeing um, a set of weapons that is gonna make this work. I mean, Nico Collins is a great player, but he's a guy with 312 yards so far this year. It's 38th. You know, uh, in the league. That's, that would mean that was the number 2 on most teams, and he's their best by a long shot. Like, they have really neglected the offensive side of the ball since they drafted CJ Stroud, and it shows. So I'm also with you on terms of like, where are the points coming from? And it really comes down to, you have to protect the football if you're Seattle, because if they start getting if they turn the ball over and give Houston some short fields and some opportunities like that, that's where they're going to get points, and you're going to have to go up against that really stout defense that they have and try and make up for it. And you don't want to be trying to make up for all of words. Trying to make up for Euro mistakes against a really, really stout defense. So
Yeah, it's all about their defense. There's no question about it. It's not a great, they generate an average amount of turnovers, so it's not like the Jaguars where they came hot and they had like 14 turnovers and 10 interceptions in the last 5 weeks. That's not who they are, but they are really decent. Their run offense is ranked 22nd in DVOA. Their pass offense is ranked 16th. Their I was going to say their third down completion percentage is ranked 22nd. Their their third down completion percentage is ranked 26th. Their red zone percentage is ranked 21st. Yards per rush is 17th. Passing yards is ranked 19th. Yards per attempt is ranked 13th. His completion percentage is good. All that kind of stuff. He's thrown a few interceptions. He gets sacked on a regular basis. If I was, and they don't have really any explosiveness in their offense, they're ranked 24th in explosive pass plays, ranked 25th in explosive run plays. And a lot of that points to their offensive line being really porous. And I think that's currently the main problem they have, I think, on offense, and being able to not be so consistent. And you mentioned another issue earlier, and I'll tie them together. Lack of weapons and lack of interior line protection. They just, if they, and so they're very inconsistent on third down, very inconsistent in the red zone and so forth. Could they put it all together at some point? Yeah. I mean, that's always a concern against Seattle's defense. I don't see that happening.
That would be,
I think Seattle really does a good job in this game cleaning up on the defensive line. I mean, this is a game I think they would be circling if I was Seattle and trying to pad my stats. Like, this is one of those games where they could really do some damage up front. I mean, they did so against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I see a repeat performance in this game.
Against Jacksonville. I mean, that was really a dominating performance up front. 7 sacks in that game, and other than the early, like the first drive, good on the back end too. So they couldn't just get the ball out of his hands quick. I'm looking at this and I'm saying, Byron Murphy and Williams up front, those guys are going to feast. Interior of that offensive line, they're going to be getting upfield. They're going to be disruptive. And if CJ Stroud can run, and like he's great as far as moving the ball and extending plays, making yards. But if our edge rushers can get upfield too, and corral him in that pocket, you can get sacks. I mean, like I said, he's had 12. He's been sacked 12 times in 5 games. Right, so that's definitely doable. The turnovers are, like I said, that's the one thing you got to keep track of the ball, and you got to do that. Well, Seahawks have lost the ball 8 times, 5 fumbles, which is weird because Sam Darnold's done a good job of keeping, he's thrown, 3 interceptions, in the entire year, but they've had 5 fumbles, so a total of 8 turnovers. But Houston has only collected 6 turnovers in 5 games. Like, they're not a team that turns the other team over a lot, which is, when you have a defense that's that good, it's kind of surprising that they're just not doing better as far as takeaways. And you start looking at, okay, why is this defense so good if they're not turning the other team over? And then you're just like, oh well, they get after the quarterback like no one else, and they put teams in 3rd and long. Like the average on 3rd down is like 7.9 yards, which is, I think that's the largest in the league. They get you in 3rd and long, and then they pin their ears back, and they've got the pass rushers to get after anybody. So it's gonna be a tough game for Seattle's offensive line to do its job. But honestly, I trust Seattle's offensive line more than I trust Houston's. And you put those things together, and I'm like, okay, 2 great defenses, 2 offenses that are not the strength of the team, the defense is. But which offensive line do you trust more? I trust Seattle's more. I trust Seattle's more to allow Darnold to make plays more than I trust Houston's to allow CJ Stroud to make plays.
Yeah. I mean, I think you've got the Texans DVOA is the 3rd ranked defense in the NFL. Seattle's offense is ranked 4th in DVOA. The Texans offense is ranked 22nd in DVOA. If you're just breaking it down on stats and not looking at players and plays and all that stuff, I mean, we have some advantages. I think the Seahawks keys to winning this game is, on defense, generate a massive pass rush, disrupt their timing, and win versus that poor Texas offensive line, and maybe create a turnover or 2. On the other side, you want to slow that pass rush by trying to feed the ball a little bit, I think, to Ken Walker and Charbonnet in this game, and especially trying to test that outside zone running game against that defense. The one success that teams have had against the Texans is on outside zone run plays. That seems to be able to be effective against them. And I expect them to try to do that because they definitely need to try to slow down that pass rush. And one way to do that is to run the ball effectively at them, especially if you can run it straight up the middle. And then you've got to trust Sam Darnold to pass in key moments in this game to take advantage of the stacked box. I think that eventually will come. And another thing is Seattle is one of the better teams in the NFL in 22 personnel. I think they run it at the second highest rate in the NFL. And that bodes well too for being able to offer a little extra protection for Sam. And they do a pretty decent job, even running two players out in routes. Sam's able to, and our players are able to get open, and Sam's able to put that ball in there. So it's not going to be easy. This is not going to be an easy game, but I think our defense will dominate their offense. I don't see their defense dominating our offense. I think we've got enough weapons and enough protection on the offensive line and two decent running backs. Even if they don't average a lot, I think if you can get them some volume in this game, it'll help Sam with the play action stuff. And eventually things start to break loose a little bit. And I see it being one of those games where you go into halftime and it's like 10-10 or 10-6. And at halftime, you make a few adjustments and you pull away a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you said, 23-13. Are we into prediction times? But
that is my prediction. I wrote that down earlier, and that is my prediction.
Yeah, those were when you were explaining here what you thought. I mean, you said six could score 23, and you don't see Houston, surpassing 13. So, I mean, that's a double-digit win. You're predicting the Seahawks by double digits, by more than one score.
I'm saying that the Seahawks can score 23 points against the Texans. I think this is one of the better, or if not the best, offense that the Texans have faced, and then this is definitely one of the better defenses that they've faced. They faced some okay defenses, but this one is, up front anyway, is really difficult and challenging for any team. And the Texans with their offensive line and their lack of weapons, I think, gives the Seahawks a major advantage in this game.
Yeah. And the Seahawks are getting their secondary back. They should be getting 3 starters back in the secondary. And, the guys did well against Jacksonville, held down the fort in that game. Didn't do so the week before, but getting your starters back, getting your stars back, guys like Julian Love and Devon Witherspoon, it's going to make a big difference on this defense. You're going to see a lot more creativity from Macdonald and his ability to do things, especially with Nwari playing the way he is. He had a great game. Kind of went back and re-looked at his performance against Jacksonville, and man, he was all over the place. They had him covered in the slot. They had him on the back end. They had him basically playing linebacker. They had him doing like all sorts of things. He brushed the passer. And honestly, he did great at all of them. Yeah. And I honestly, I'll watching that game, he was gimpy on that ankle still. There were times I saw him limping. He is not at 100%, but he's, it was fighting through it because the Seahawks just simply didn't have anyone else. And he was still, he was scary good. He really was. And so, they've never had everybody available because Nwari got hurt 3 plays into the first game and was out for a while. And by the time he came back, everyone else was hurt. They may have everyone available in the secondary for the first time this year. That's got to scare another team, especially when they don't have good weapons.
Especially too, Keith, when those secondary players, third, fourth string guys have had a lot of snaps in the last 3 weeks with Witherspoon out, with Love out. and others, Emanwari as well. And so you've got a lot of experience now early in this season. And that can only help as we go down the stretch. I will say this before you offer a prediction. Few teams have been able to score points against the Texans defense. Even the Bucks scored just 20 points. And that included a touchdown with 6 seconds remaining in the game. No team has scored more than that. The Rams managed 14 points. The Jaguars scored 17. I think our offense is way better than the Jaguars and probably the Rams. And we're pretty even with the Bucks. And we showed that. So I will, and I think that, our defense was flawed in that Bucks game. I think we could have scored even more points. But that's kind of why I think that we're at 23. I think that we'll be the highest scoring team against them so far this season.
Okay. I'm all for it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So what's your prediction?
My prediction was for a lower scoring game. I think that Houston's defense is going to make this sloppy and make this a mess. And I think Seattle's going to come out and win this like 17-14.
Wow. I don't see them scoring touchdowns on us, but okay. The other factor in this thing too is it's prime time. It's a Monday night game at Lumen
Monday
Field.
night game.
I think it's going to be supercharged. Yeah, and so 14-17. Goodness gracious, that would make me a little nervous. But this is a game you need to win. I think if you're a Seahawks fan. Now it's an AFC team. It's not as important as beating NFC teams and so forth. But we've already lost at home twice. I don't want to lose at home against the Texans. You need to be able to separate eventually in this league, and we're going into a bye. I need to win that game before we go to a bye, just so that I'm feeling better. I don't want to lose. It's not a game I want to lose.
Yeah. Honestly, you can't keep losing games at home. You got to do a better job of protecting that house. I was there for the Tampa game. It was not the fans. The fans were loud. And it didn't matter. The defense just couldn't get a stop. But again, that was with backups, and they had communication problems, and they fixed it the following week. Now you're getting your starters back. Now you're getting your stars back, and the fans will bring it. We know that. We know the fans will bring it. They always do. They need to get a win. They need to reclaim that home field advantage. And I think I agree. I think they do that this week.
Nice. All right. Well, I wish everyone a good weekend. Watch some football, college football on Saturday. Watch some other NFL games that are relevant to you on Sunday. And then let's get this thing going on Monday night. And we'll come back probably Tuesday afternoon and talk about what we saw. And then we'll have a long time off as we go into a bye situation and see what the team needs to do. And, maybe we talk about trading for a player, depending on what's going on after this game. Maybe there's a need that presents itself. So that's it. Let's get out of here. Find Keith on Blue Sky at Myers NFL. You can find me at NW Seahawk. The show is Seahawks Playbook Podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform and our YouTube channel, and subscribe when you get there. Make sure you have us in your feed every week. Every time we put out a show, you get a notice. So until next time, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Seahawks Playbook Podcast listeners, thanks for joining us for another edition of the show. You can find us on Twitter. Bill is at NW Seahawk, Keith is at Myers NFL, and the show is at Hawks Playbook. You can listen and subscribe to the show at SeahawksPlaybook.com.